Hello and welcome to the Healing Insight podcast, episode 12, with me, Sarah Hunt.
And me, Jez Hunt.
Hello, here we are again, and this time it's episode 12. Goodness me, things are progressing on, don't you think, Jay?
They are, and we're becoming much more comfortable with working together and doing the podcast, which is kind of a nice lead into what we're going to be talking about today.
Yes, absolutely. And today the subject is comfort zone, and certainly starting doing these podcasts was out of my comfort zone. But as Jay said, it's becoming more natural, it's becoming easier as we've got used to working with each other in this way. And I'm sure all of us can think of things that have taken us out of our comfort zone, or have pushed us so that we feel like we're moving out of our comfort zone. And that can feel very uncomfortable sometimes, can't it?
It most certainly can. Because our comfort zone is where we feel safe and we feel in control.
Yes, absolutely. And stepping out of our comfort zone often comes with a fear of change, a fear of the future, a fear of failure, even.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as well, stepping out of a comfort zone can be linked to a fear of success as well.
Yes.
Depending on where the person's at. And so what we do on a subconscious level is we kind of put, but the way I kind of think of it is it's a box around us, and that's like, this area is what's safe for me. And if I step outside that area, then that's not safe. I don't know what's going on there, and so I want to stay here because I feel confident, I feel safe, I feel I'm able to do what I need to do. And I remember years ago in one of my corporate jobs, my sales jobs that I had, that I anything new I would really struggle with. My knees had been knocking when I was in X-ray guiding staff with new equipment that they needed to learn how to use, hoping to heck that I'd got it right and that it would work as it was supposed to. Once I got comfortable with the equipment and the people that I was teaching and everything, then it wasn't a problem and the confidence was there. And I remember my boss saying to me that she noticed that if I understood everything and I was comfortable with it, then I had loads of confidence. But as soon as I was giving something out of the ordinary or something slightly new, that my confidence would go. And that was because I suddenly felt as if I was out of my comfort zone. And I'm sure you can think of situations like that as well, Jay, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing to remember is that we learn. So we learn by stepping out of our comfort zone. I mean, when I was looking into this and learning my NLP and even prior to that, having an understanding that there are kind of, well, it depends who you speak to, but the kind of four zones that we go through. We've got the comfort zone, which is where we are absolutely, where we feel safe in the moment. Then to get to a place of learning, then we have to go through a fear zone. We have to go through that. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how this equipment's going to work. Is it going to perform like you were saying? Is it going to do what I think? And I don't have that confidence yet. But without going through the fear zone, we aren't going to learn. We have to get to that to learn to deal with a different challenge that you've never dealt with before, or to acquire new skills. So you're going from where you are today to learn new skills with a bit of equipment, for example. Then however brief it might be, you are going to go through a fear zone. You are going to be a bit apprehensive, a bit you might even find excuses not to do it, and find that
Yes, that's been known as well.
you're putting something off. But we have to go through that to be able to deal with challenges and problems and to acquire new skills. We have to go through the fear zone into a learning zone where we accept that, yeah, we're going to be a bit uncomfortable with this, but actually it's okay. And then from that, we move into the growth zone. And if we really push ourselves a bit further, we then get into that place of finding purpose with what it is we're looking for, to be able to set new goals and be comfortable with the goals, be comfortable, stretch ourselves, but become more comfortable with pushing ourselves. And that's where we actually then start to conquer our objectives. We actually start to thrive in terms of our growth and where we're actually going. And I think an analogy that was used with me that's really stuck is, if you think of your comfort zone a bit like an elastic band, but it's a very special elastic band. So, but if you imagine having an elastic band between your fingers and both hands, and you pull it, so you're stretching it. Okay, so that's us getting through the fear zone, learning zone into the growth zone. When you let go of it, it snaps back. But if you think of it as snapping back to bigger than it was, so it never snaps back to exactly the same length. It always snaps back to, because it's been stretched, it's not snapping back as far as it did before. So your comfort zone grows. Every time you step out of your comfort zone and learn something, your comfort zone expands, because that
Yeah.
new thing becomes a part of your comfort zone. Maybe that's a better way of explaining it. So that is how we learn anything. Even as a child learning to walk, there may well be, I mean, I don't know, because I can't remember what I was thinking when I was learning to walk. But there may well have been a mixture of confidence, because I'm seeing my parents walking and my siblings walking, so if they can do it, I can do it, kind of copying. But the fact I've fallen over and hurt myself, or bumped myself, or banged my head, or there might also be an element of fear of, yes, but if I do it, then I might fall over and bang myself like I did just now. So it's kind of that mix of stretching ourselves enough to push through the fear, but understanding that it is part of the growth and the learning, and it's not fear. I mean, our episode on fear, go back and listen to that if you want to find out more, listeners. But
I'll add to it in a minute.
that's okay.
Just let you finish.
That's okay. But it's going through that gives us the learnings that we have. We have to have stepped out of our comfort zone to learn. Otherwise, we wouldn't be ever learning anything or doing anything, or because we would stay with what we know today and never actually pushing ourselves forwards.
Absolutely. And those of you that have listened to our podcast on fear will remember that I forgot one of the acronyms for fear. And I think I forgot it because it wasn't appropriate then. It was appropriate now. And I found it the other day. I was like, that's what it was. And it's face everything and rise. So a bit like the phoenix coming out of the ashes, isn't it, really? But it's when you're in that place of fear, if you can actually face that fear and look at what you may need to heal something to be able to then push forward. And the rising to me is you coming into your best self. It's you growing, it's you expanding as you push through that fear zone, as Jay described it. It creates the learning zone, and you learn loads, and then of course then you're growing. So yes, face everything and rise.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. It's as we've said before, in a lot of ways we're our own worst enemy, because we can talk ourselves out of stuff. Like I said earlier, you can find excuses not to do something. Oh, well, I don't feel comfortable doing that, so I can't do that. I can't do that today. Oh, I'm not available this week, or I don't know, whatever it might be. We can find excuses not to do something, and unless we actually, sometimes you just, I think one of the things was face the fear and do it anyway. I think we talked about that.
Susan Jeffers' book.
Yeah. And it is, I think sometimes it is just a case of, okay, it's understanding, fear comes from a response going back to primeval fight. Oh, hi, Charlie. Primeval fight or flight. And it puts us into that state, and that's part of what's triggering here. But we're not actually, if we're trying to learn a new bit of equipment that we're not comfortable with, we're not in fear of our life. It's not going to kill us to be uncomfortable. The worst that's going to happen is we're going to say something that isn't quite right, or we're going to fumble over our words, or there's going to be a something. So it might be a bit of embarrassment. That might be the
Yeah,
worst case that comes out of it. And just understanding that if that's the worst that can happen, and we're all human, and and the person we're talking to, chances are they will have done the same thing in a different situation themselves, then it doesn't matter if we fluff for example, we fluff an intro for one of the
intro.
episodes and not remember which
Yeah,
episode we're talking about, for example. Not that I'm throwing that one back at you. No,
yeah.
but
Thank you.
no, but the point is, it doesn't matter.
No, it
It,
doesn't,
it,
and I've
it
learned from it as well.
yeah. But it really doesn't matter. It's not a fear of life scenario. So
Absolutely. um, there's something else I think that's important to kind of think about, is that it's very easy as well when we're looking at doing new stuff to compare ourselves to others,
mhm,
and you know, and think that we can't do things because somebody else is better at it, if that makes sense.
yes,
You've seen, and actually we all have something to offer in everything that we do. So I think we've said it before, you know, we both paint, and your paintings are very different to my paintings, and that's okay, because that's the way that they're meant to be. And I think it's what's more important, what I always talk to my students about, is not comparing to other people, but comparing to where you were on the start of your journey. And it
yes,
was interesting the other day because I had a bit of a turnout, and I found some old drawings and paintings that I'd done. And for those of you that don't know me that well, I do a lot of paintings with angels in. I channel a lot of paintings with angels in, and different. Mine are more sort of abstracting paintings. And I found some old ones, and some old drawings that I'd done from about 10 years ago. And I looked at them and went, wow, I hadn't realized just how much I'd progressed with the work that I do now. So it's really important to actually look back at where you started with something, that where you're moving yourself out of your comfort zone to where you've actually moved to actually see for yourself your progress. And the progress that's important is your progress. The other thing to me that's really important, and it's something that I remind my students of, is that when we make a mistake, it's a mistake.
yes,
So, and you think about somebody making a film and their clapperboard, and they'll do the clapperboard and they'll record that bit, and something's not quite right with it. So, and that's a mistake. So they do the clapperboard again and they do it again. And hopefully they will have corrected whatever was wrong, and all will be well. But it's the same with us in life. Anything that is considered as a mistake is a mistake, and it's an opportunity to learn and an opportunity to grow. And I like to look at it like that now. You know, I've made a mistake. Okay, what do I need to learn from that? What is it that I did wrong? What can I put right? Do I need any outside help to give me some direction with it, depending on what it is?
yeah,
Whether it's, I was setting up a new account system online the other day. I've been resisting that because it takes me out of my comfort zone. I had some help to set it up. Somehow, heaven only knows how, I managed to set up 2 accounts. Can you believe it? And I paid for the account that had nothing populated on it. So when the payment went through, the other account disappeared with everything populated on
yay,
it. I was like, no. But what that has done is really highlighted to me the importance of checking what I'm doing,
yes,
and making sure that I understand what I'm doing as well. I've resolved the problem and had very good customer services that helped me to sort it out, and very quickly. But you know, that could have been seen as a major mistake and a major drama. And I was a little bit upset about it, I have to say, but it was my fault because I didn't check properly what I was doing. And you know, it was a mistake, but I've learned from it. and it shouldn't happen again, if that makes sense. So I think, the other thing, it is important to understand that whenever we make a mistake, it's a mistake. And also, if you can be in that place of it simply is. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. And it's giving you an opportunity to learn. And that, when the emotion's taken out of that, it's a lot easier to deal with it than when you go, oh my God, this has happened, that's happened. And then it's drama's created. And then that kind of makes it a lot more difficult to sort the problem out, if that makes sense. Yeah. So taking that step back and going, what a numpty. That's what I said to myself the other day. What a flipping numpty. But then it was like, right, how do I resolve this?
Yeah, I think it also ties.
Sorry,
it's all right.
We're talking over each other. But what that's done is it's helped me to understand that accounting package better, and so I've learned from that, and will be more comfortable with actually using that now as I go forward. So
yes, absolutely. And I think well, I was going to say, but it's also a reflection on your self-worth about yourself as well, because if you're critical, so it's where you are, and again, that will be based on the beliefs and values that you've gained from your life up to that point and your perspective on life. If you do something wrong, air quotes, then absolutely it's a learning opportunity. If you're sitting there saying, oh, I've done that again, and then you're putting yourself down, and all you've done is made a decision. So it's like one of the things that I was talking to a client about a few weeks back was the decisions you make aren't wrong. They are just the decisions you make based on the knowledge, experience, and, as we've said before, the knowledge, experience and everything that you have in that particular moment when that decision needed to be made. The only reason it's wrong, in air quotes, is the fact that the outcome wasn't what you expected.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's all it is. A mistake is just the outcome is different to the one that you intended, expected, whatever. So when you actually get to that place of not beating yourself up every time something doesn't come out as you expected it to, then you learn from that. So a couple of analogies or a couple of metaphors. So think about baking. If any of you out there bake cakes and you mix it up, you follow the recipe, you mix it all up, you put your little cupcakes in the cases and you stick it in the oven and you pull them out and they haven't risen, and then you realize you didn't put the baking powder in or whatever, then you are going to know from that next time when you do the next batch you will put the baking powder in. It's things like that. Another analogy, going back to what you were saying about why was it triggered? Okay, another thing that might be helpful is thinking about life as driving a car. Oh, that's right. When you're looking back to, when you're sort of saying about comparing yourself, so from where you've come from to where you are. But if you view your life journey as driving a car, for those of you that drive, if you don't drive, you might not understand this necessarily. But
I might if they ride a bike.
Well,
on the road.
But yeah, true. If you're a road user in any way, shape, or form, then you should resonate with this. So when we're riding a bike or driving a car, then we have to look forwards. We are looking forwards, and we spend the majority of our time looking forwards. But we do need to look in the wing mirrors and the rear view mirror, or look over our shoulder if we're on a bike every so often, just to make sure that we're aware of what's behind us. But the point is, we don't want to be driving a car, staring in the rear view mirror, worrying about what's behind us and what has happened and because that's behind us. So yes, we need to look back. Lessons are learned by looking back and understanding what's happened, but it's not beating ourselves up over it. It's just taking the knowledge, letting go of any energy or energetic side, doing the healing we need to do from the lessons that are learned, but just taking the knowledge forwards. Okay, I didn't put the baking powder in this time. Oops, never mind, numpty, whatever route you want to go with that.
My favourite word at the moment, numpty.
Now, if you keep making cakes and keep forgetting the baking powder, then maybe there's something deeper there. that maybe you need a
Yes.
bigger post-it note on that page in the recipe book saying baking powder exclamation mark. So there are things that you can do if you're repeating a mistake, in terms of maybe there is something bigger there that you need to look at.
Yeah, and the universe will certainly let you know.
For
And if you
sure.
keep making the same mistake and you're not learning from it and you're not making the changes that are needed to stop you making that mistake, then the universe will kind of smack you in the face and create a situation will manifest to really bring it to your attention so that you can change things. And making changes in our lives and making changes to ourselves um, takes us out of our comfort zone and can be uncomfortable, but it's always worthwhile. And we really want to be doing that if we can, without having major dramas being thrown up in our faces because we've not listened and we've not made the changes that are needed. But the universe will throw it at us if we don't listen, because on a soul level, our soul really wants us to heal and to learn the lessons that we've come here to learn. And so if we're not learning, then the shouts to show us become louder and louder until we do go, oh yes, now I know
Yeah.
what I need to do.
Yeah. And it's okay to feel a bit uncomfortable. You know, nerves are there to serve a purpose.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing to feel uncomfortable. It's just how you then allow yourself to move forwards or backwards from that. So whether you go back into your comfort zone or whether you push through and continue with the learning. But I remember getting inside a car when I was learning to drive for the first time. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, okay, accelerator, brake, clutch. I knew that bit, and I knew what the steering wheel was. Well, that helps. But in terms of, the instructor saying, okay, here you go. I can still, now thinking about it, feel the nerves. Well, I remember the nerves. I don't feel it, but I remember the nerves that I felt in that moment. And yet here we are, that so many years on, quite a few, where I don't get nervous about getting in a car and driving. So it's okay to feel a bit nervous. That's where the growth will come from if you push through and just keep at it, and just remember that your life is not at risk generally. I mean, being nervous on top of the edge of a building, then yeah, your life is at risk under that sort of circumstance. But unless you're putting yourself into a situation like that, then your life's generally not at risk with the majority of things we get worried about in modern life.
Yeah, I think though, sometimes and this comes back to kind of programming and belief systems and what have you, but often a lot of the issues stem from fears around what other people are going to think,
Yes.
how people are going to perceive you. And then this comes back to how you perceive yourself, and it comes back to that, make sure that um, you're not knocking yourself all the time, because you will affect your self-esteem. And whilst I called myself a numpty and I was a bit cross with myself the other day for the situation arising, um, it was like, okay, what can I do to resolve this, rather than keep beating myself up and saying, oh no, I'm never going to sort this out, oh, I've got to do it all over again, da 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 da. So it's making sure that you're kind to yourself, and that you recognize that this is part of your growth, and that's okay. It's like Jeremy was saying earlier, it's okay to make a mistake, because it's an opportunity to learn. And I think it's important as well, to be willing to put your hands up and say, whoa, that was my mistake.
Yes.
And I've certainly seen that with students, where there's been situations where I've perhaps given information that I thought was truth, it wasn't truth, and because my intuition was affected, and I've just gone, well, sorry guys, I got that wrong, and this is what's correct. And I've actually had that fed back to me, that it's so nice to see that you get things wrong too. And I think that's important. It's for to understand that we all make mistakes,
Yeah.
and that's part of life. It's part of growing. It's part of us developing and becoming our best selves. And that's really what we're here to do. It's to become our best self. It's to become our authentic self, and to do what's for the greatest good, and to do what makes our hearts sing. And if we're constantly berating ourselves for making a mistake, then we're not allowing ourselves to do what makes our hearts sing. We're not allowing ourselves to follow our soul path properly. And so it's important to be kind to yourself when you make a mistake.
Yes. And what we say about ourselves, what we say is how we perceive the world. It's what becomes truth for us.
Yes.
If I keep saying to myself that I'm useless at art, I'm useless at art, I'm useless at art, then funnily enough, I'll be useless at art because I won't try, I won't put the effort in. Whereas, going back to one of the very early, might have been the first one, but podcast, but where I was told at the age of 13, you will never be any good at art, don't do it. If I hadn't have at some point last year made that decision of, I'll just give it a go, and that was actually because I was encouraged by somebody else to do it, I would never have discovered the joy that I now have creating a piece of art. And, you know, I spent years never trying because I wasn't any good at art. In my mind, I wasn't any good because I'd been told I wasn't. So therefore, anytime I tried to do a sketch or something like that, it didn't look like what I was trying to draw, for example. But there are different ways of expressing yourself creatively in art, as we talked about in the creativity podcast. So there's lots of things that all link together here from the various podcasts we've done, which is also quite fascinating.
Yes, absolutely. So, yes, I think it's just important to understand that when you're stepping out of your comfort zone, it's actually allowing you to grow. And the more that you're willing to do that, then the more opportunities you've got for growth, the more opportunities you've got for learning, really.
Yeah, one of the things I learned quite a few years ago now is the quicker you fail, the quicker you learn, and not being afraid of failure or mistakes, because that's all they are. They're mistakes. They're just outcomes that didn't come out the way
That
you
weren't what you
planned them.
wanted. Mm.
And
Yeah.
if that doesn't work, then you try a different one. And I think I mentioned this possibly in one of the other podcasts about Edison, allegedly doing his 10,000 light bulbs before he found one that worked. He just kept trying. Well, that one didn't work. Okay, try tweaking this. That didn't work. Let's try tweaking this. That didn't work. And he just kept going and kept going and kept going. And eventually we had the incandescent light bulb. And look where that's, years on now. Look at the difference that's made.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and that's tenacity, isn't it? It's not it's just having that within you to think, okay, let's try this, let's
yeah,
try that, let's see what works, and recognizing that's what we need to do, and what works for me might not work for you. So we could be experiencing similar things, and both of us might need to do different things for it to work for us. So you can't really go to somebody else and say, what did you do? Well, they can give you some ideas, but it might not work for you,
yeah,
just because of whatever the situation is that you're dealing with and needing to step out of your comfort zone with.
yeah. And I think we can all give up too easily. Again, because you're out of your comfort zone, you're feeling uncomfortable with it. Oh well, I've tried this twice now and it hasn't worked. It's just, maybe you need to try a third time. What if Thomas Edison had stopped at 9,999 attempts and didn't try that final one? You never know how close you are to finding the outcome you're looking for unless you keep going until you get the outcome you're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also stepping back and checking that the outcome you're looking for is the right outcome as
Yes.
well. Because sometimes the outcome that you want might not be the outcome that's for your highest good, and so you'll be failing in inverted commas because actually you haven't reassessed the situation to see if that's still the outcome that you're looking for is still for your highest good. And it might not be, because something might have changed, a decision you made previously or something that's happened may have changed the whole situation and the energy of everything. And so the outcome that you're looking for, that you're trying to get, might not be the one that's for your highest good. And so
Yeah.
it's important as well to just take that step back from whatever it is that you're doing, where you're stepping out of your comfort zone and just making sure that the outcome that you're looking for is what's for your highest good. And the way to do that is to check in with your heart center. Does it resonate with me? Does it feel correct? And then check in with your sacral area, your tummy area, and your gut feeling. Does your gut feel comfortable, or have you got a nervous feeling in there? And if you've got a nervous feeling in there, then that's flagging up to you that maybe something's not quite right, and you need to have another look and maybe change tack slightly.
Yeah, very, very good point. Very good point. Because our goals and everything can change and do change. So, yeah,
Yeah.
check in. Excellent. Well, that's, again, another, I can't believe it just goes so quick, the time.
We could talk for England, couldn't we?
Oh, we certainly could, but we're at time today. So yeah, comfort zone, it's all part of the growth. Stepping out of comfort zone is a part of us and our journey to grow. So it's okay to make mistakes because they're just things that didn't work out the way we intended them to. So, look at what you're looking at for your outcome, revise your process or whatever it is you're doing, and keep going until you find the outcome that you're looking for. So
Absolutely. I don't think I could say anything or add anything to that, Jay. So thank you again for today. And it's goodbye from me.
and it's goodbye from him.